Hi, everybody. Virgo is very near and dear to my heart. I have a Virgo moon, and so what that means is on a subconscious level, I have some very strong Virgo traits. So a lot of times we don't even recognize that side of us. And so with our moon, we can have some challenging traits that we might need to work on in this life to overcome. And with a Virgo, those could be things like control, judgment, self criticism, being too picky, and that's just to name a few. So, but not only do I have a Virgo moon, my partner has a Virgo rising. Our rising is what we're aspiring to be in this lifetime. My daughter also has a Virgo rising. So that can create some compatibility as well as some struggles because we tend to always be arguing over who is right and who should be in control. When you have a Virgo sun, you can see these things in you very clearly a lot of the time. Sometimes there's things that you don't want to see because they can be a bit challenging. And if you have your sun in Virgo, you might have other planets there. So I do strongly suggest, if you haven't already looked up your chart through that video that I showed you, to do it, because there might be planets there that you're not even aware of. So if you had like Venus and Mars there, they're the planets that describe what we're attracted to and the things that we enjoy. So if you had Mars or Venus there, you might be very interested in spending time outside and enjoying things that are natural and from nature. Like these people who do have Mars and Venus in Virgo tend to collect things like sticks, crystals, rocks, enjoy being outside, are usually pretty good at being gardeners, and tend to have a lot of plants in their home and in their yard. Every sign has a planet that rules that sign. So for Virgo, it's Mercury. And Mercury is the planet that represents communication. And for Virgo, usually people are very good at things like math and they have like a scientific mind. They're pretty logical and practical. Everything tends to be one extreme or the other. So for example, Virgo is very good at being tidy and tends to be a bit OCD or very good at cleaning and like to have things in order. But a lot of times when you see somebody who is a Virgo, they can be one or the other. They can be very particular about their space and how everything is put and how clean everything is, and or they can be the exact opposite and just their place is almost like chaos. So, and Virgos tend to get a bad rap sometimes because what people usually identify with the Virgo is that they are very orderly and like to have things done a certain way, and they're very strict on time management and how things are done, because Virgos are very good at just about anything they do. They are known to be a jack of all trades, and so they tend to master everything that they do to the best capability that they can do it, and in order to be efficient and to save time, and they just tend to do it the same way every time. So if you have somebody come in, a lot of times you have a hard time letting other people do those things that you know how to do well, and to step back and let other people do it. And you can see that with parents who are a Virgo or a Capricorn, because they're both very similar. So it is a lesson for them to be able to just step back and let other people learn through their own experience instead of telling them how to do it your way. Virgo is also very good at manifesting. it's like the manifester of the signs. And I want you guys just to think about this for a minute, because Virgo is also about health. And so a lot of times Virgos can be hypochondriacs because they are so good at manifesting, and when they fixate on health issues, they can tend to make them worse. So when I do readings for people who have a lot of planets in the sign of Virgo, I try to let them know that this is a quality that they have so that they can manifest a more healthy life, and to always think positively about their health. So if you do have like back problems or knee problems or indigestion or anything like that, not to focus on it negatively when you experience it. Try to retrain your brain and to say it in a positive light. Like, just say, I am healthy, I feel good, my knees feel good, I'm strong, I'm made of steel, like things like that, to help reconfigure your brain to think things differently. And then if you can master that, and even just doing it the best way that you can for a little while, you can start to notice things changing and getting better. And then you can, it's not just with your health either. Like, if you think about it, you might notice that maybe there's certain things in your life that you wanted, like a job or a person or material things. And just by you thinking about it and putting that out there, it somehow came to you. And that tends to be very easy for people who are Virgo or have other planets in the sign of Virgo. And it's also very ironic that this time of year, when we go back to school, for here, school starts in the sign of Virgo. And Virgo is very organized, and you might notice that the Virgos in your life like things like Post-it notes and pens and having day timers and planners and just having everything mapped out, and like routines. Virgo is very much about routines. So you might notice that you have a certain way of doing things every day. Like, you have a set schedule and you need to follow it. And if you're not following it, your life might feel a little bit chaotic. And so it's almost like order needs to be a part of a Virgo's life, but also they need to be a little bit more spontaneous. They like to play with Lego. They like to build. They're very good with hand tools and building things. Some of the positions that are very good for Virgo is things like natural healing. A lot of times they tend to be in positions where they're a nurse or doing like chiropractor or physiotherapy or Reiki, maybe even dentistry, working with pets. Pets is a big thing for Virgo. And if anybody has the planet Jupiter in Virgo, they tend to have a lot of plants in their life, or just at one time, because Jupiter expands whatever it touches. So those people with Virgo, Jupiter and Virgo tend to fall under that category. And Virgo is very much about being of service. So a lot of times people who have Virgo in their chart, they are in the military, or they have some kind of position where they're helping others, which could be firefighting or working for the police or things like that. They're also sports fanatics, so I wouldn't think that it would be uncommon for some of our sports players out there that they might have some strong Virgo in their chart. And a lot of people who are like big sports fans have very strong Virgo in their chart. Virgos also tend to be really good at cooking, particularly baking, because baking is a science and Virgos tend to have a scientific mind. And their Virgos are also, because of that planet Mercury, they tend to be very good with words, with math, learning things hands-on and working with their hands. You usually know when there's a Virgo around when you go into a space and it's full of plants. Somebody has a strong Saturn in Virgo, it could mean that they struggle with a lot of these things. They are probably the ones that have a hard time keeping their space clean and tidy. But back to the plants thing, it reminded me that a lot of Virgos can also be hairdressers and into design. And Libra is very good at hair design and things that have to do with design and makeup, but they're very different because Virgo is an earth sign. It's very into natural beauty. So when they decorate or design things, it tends to be very earthy plants and kind of homegrown, whereas Libra is more elaborate and elegant and so they're quite different. Virgo can be known for being overly critical and judgmental. And it's just one of those things with this sign that they're meant to overcome. Every sign has challenges, and that happens to be one for Virgo. And I find that Virgo is more critical or judgmental of themselves than anybody else. And you know that saying, sometimes we see things in other people that we judge, and it's usually because it's in ourselves. And that's a good way that we can learn to work on some of our habits. Have you ever been with a Virgo in a kitchen? Just try stepping back and letting their partner cook in the kitchen, because it would be really challenging for a Virgo to do that, because you have this certain way of doing things, and to be able to let other people come into your kitchen and load your dishwasher and reorganize or put things back in the wrong space or just cook a recipe a different way, it would be really challenging. But it would be really helpful too. Because Virgos are such perfectionists, they can spend so much time wasted on the little details that nobody else is ever going to see, like so much wasted time. So that's another thing that they can use to really try to change in their life, is just not to worry about that stuff, because Virgo can be so focused on the little details that they don't see the big picture, and they miss out on the main experience of the event or whatever, because they're so concerned about all the little things. And because Virgo is an earth sign, people with strong Virgo could also really enjoy being outside, but if they have too much of that OCD in them, they might be more on the other end of that and not wanting to be out in nature and getting their hands dirty. But Virgos are very much about routine and health. And so like their eating habits could be really important to them, and how they spend their days. Like, to be able to have some kind of routine, I think, would make for a healthy Virgo. And to be able to have, like, physical activity in their life every day would be really helpful. It's just, your health could be really important. And then also Virgos might try to go for an alternative way of healing, as opposed to going with prescriptions and things of that nature. They might want to try like alternative methods, because we are here because we want different ways of learning to heal ourselves spiritually, personally, physically. So the sun moved into Virgo today. It was just in Leo, and so they're too busy having fun, and their work and their to-do lists are getting put behind. And I usually tell people, don't worry about it. Right now, we're in the middle of summer, and that's what this time is all about. When we move into Virgo, then we're going to get kicked into gear to be productive and to get things done, and do projects at home and at work. And maybe there's some cleaning that you've been neglecting at home, and things have been piling up. Now that we're in Virgo, this is the time to deal with the clutter and to deal with the cleaning that we've been putting off, and just not to beat yourself up about it. And with the sun in Virgo, we're going to feel more grounded, and we'll probably feel more compelled to spend time in nature or outside. It's also starting to be that time of year, right, where we're starting to harvest and like toiling the earth. And you might feel right now that things do feel a little bit more practical. It's easier to retain a thought and to get things done. You also might feel like, because Virgo is very much of a service, you might feel more compelled to help other people. Maybe that is helping them build a deck or doing renovations in their home. Maybe you want to like drive somebody around to do some errands, or maybe you want to help somebody by doing their errands for them because they can't do it for themselves.